Supply-side risks will remain prevalent in Q1, especially for metals such as copper, nickel and tin. Key areas of focus include Indonesian policy on illegal mining, China's move to anti-involution, and historically low refining and treatment charges. The impact of US sector-specific tariffs has resulted in increasing domestic premiums for metals such as copper, aluminium, and zinc, encouraging atypical trade flows, creating tightness outside the US. The latest pushback in a decision over tariffs on critical minerals, further adding to uncertainty over the shape of future Section 232 policy. China is expected to outline metal-intensive spending in its two sessions meeting in March, while providing targets for the start of the 15th five-year plan, spanning 2026 to 2030. Traditional seasonal demand in China for golden September and silver October disappointed, limiting expectations for demand ahead of the Chinese New Year. Attention will be paid to domestic inventory levels, with Q1 a traditional period of restocking. The dramatic surge in prices for tin, copper and aluminium over recent months has translated into downstream purchasers using just-in-time methods to obtain required material. At the time of writing, the market is only pricing in a 5% chance for a 25 basis point US rate cut in January, limiting one of the key parameters behind US dollar weakness. The LME Base Metal Index closed last year with its largest annual gain since 2021, rising 30.5%, in large part driven by a robust performance over Q4, in which the index jumped 20%, posting its quickest quarterly rise since Q3 2010. The outperformance in the final quarter of the year dwarfed gains over Q3, with the index only rising 3.5%, in which prices principally took their cues from weakness in the US dollar on rate cut expectations, counteracting the traditional off-season for demand. Over Q4, the performances within the suite itself were highly divided, with gains attached to specific metals, including copper, with a gain of 21%, and tin with a gain of 14.5%, posting nominal record highs, alongside aluminium with a gain of 11.8%, recording a multi-year high. Meanwhile, gains for nickel of 9.3% and zinc at 5.3% were more measured, while lead came in almost flat with a gain of just 1.1%. Typically, when it comes to price forecasting for industrial metals, we look at the impact that will affect each metal from a macroeconomic, fundamental, and speculative perspective. However, on the introduction of global and sector-specific tariffs from the US this year, we now include this as one of our major price-driving parameters. Copper ended 2025 as the best performing base metal, having posted a nominal record high at the time on the 30th of December of $12,559 per tonne, marking an annual gain of 41.7%. Now, copper's remarkable climb over the course of the year, and in particular Q4 with a gain of 21%, was supported by a perfect storm of factors. Firstly, we witnessed a warming in the macroeconomic outlook, with Chinese-US tensions lowering, the Federal Reserve moving to cut rates 3 times in 2025, China outlining metal-intensive spending in the year ahead, and the end of the US government shutdown, in addition to tentative talks of peace in Russia and Ukraine. Secondly, within the fundamentals, the conclusion of negotiations between Chinese smelters and major miner Antofagasta resulted in a record low refining and treatment charge benchmark of 0 cents per pound and $0 per tonne, increasing supply risks following a year in which more than 500,000 tonnes of mine supply was removed from the market following disruptions, resulting in flat mine production growth. Thirdly, the expectation for future US import tariffs on refined copper has resulted in more than 1.1 million tonnes of metal entering the country, creating tightness outside the US, with 2/3 of global visible stocks now held within COMEX. Given these factors, speculative investors have soared into copper, with net longs on COMEX at record levels at the start of this year and LME at their highest levels on record since March 2025. Now, looking to the quarter ahead, we are of the view that copper's historical ascent could face building headwinds, especially given the delay to a decision on whether to impose import tariffs on US critical minerals last week by 150 days. Indeed, here, with the market turning more bearish on the prospects for tariffs to be implemented on refined copper in 2027, with the COMEX LME arbitrage only pricing in a 5% chance by year-end, we could see a slowdown in imports into the US in the months ahead, partially relieving the outlook outside the US and its market tightness. At the same time, looking to China, the country is undergoing a seasonal period of restocking ahead of the Chinese New Year, with domestic stocks at their highest level for this time of the year since 2016. Furthermore, weak demand over China's golden September and silver October period has raised concerns for future consumption in the country, especially given copper's high price point. Meanwhile, in the speculative market, copper is fast approaching its historical net long, held in the first half of 2024, with initial signs of profit-taking starting to be reported. In the absence of additional supply disruption and a backdrop of growing geopolitical tensions, copper's bull rally may be running out of steam. Tin's robust performance over the final quarter of the year secured its place as the second best performing base metal in 2025, with a gain of 39.4%, with continual new highs posted at the start of 2026, at the time of writing, standing at $48,000 per tonne. Tin's key price drivers have stemmed from the fundamental and speculative sides of the market. Within the fundamentals, inflamed supply-side risks, with 40% of mine production having faced a form of disruption in 2025, including within major producing countries such as the DRC, Indonesia, Bolivia and Myanmar, resulted in refined output coming in flat with a gain of just 0.3%. Meanwhile, tin's resilient and fast-growing demand associated with its use in renewable energy, new digital applications and energy storage led to tin posting a second year of deficits of 5,600 tonnes. As a result, tin gained focus from the global speculative market, with the LME net longs hitting a record high on the 5th of December. Now, looking to the quarter ahead, we expect supply risks to remain prevalent, especially given that Indonesia, the second largest tin miner in the world, vowed to close 1,000 illegal mines in the country, while also moving in October to a 1-year from 3-year mining license requirement. Furthermore, question marks around the level of production from Myanmar's largest mine, Manmore, in the Wa state, which was expected to come out of a 20-month mining ban last August. However, as it stands, imports of tin ore into China remain down 70% year-on-year in 2025, with average monthly exports to China at just 2,175 tonnes, a far cry from the 15,000-tonne level pre-closure. Now note, Myanmar is the third largest tin producing country in the world, and it is the largest importer of tin ore to China, in 2022 accounting for 77% of the country's imports. So given this, we expect tin to remain vulnerable to the upside at the start of 2026, with volatility likely given its small market size versus the rest of the suite and the current stretched speculative positioning. Aluminium posted a gain of 11.8% over Q4, taking the spot as the third best performing base metal over the quarter, and indeed over 2025 with a gain of 17.4%. Upward momentum for aluminium rose late in the year, driven by concerns over future output in China, the largest producing country, with a self-imposed capacity ceiling of 45.5 million tonnes expected to be reached this year. Meanwhile, in Europe, disappointing output over the last several years was further challenged by the temporary outage of Century Aluminium's Gauratangi smelter in Iceland, with 2/3 of production offline over the next 11 to 12 months, alongside the shuttering of South 32 Mosul's smelter in Mozambique due to the inability to secure long-term power supply. Now note here, Mozambique and Iceland are the two largest importers of aluminium into the EU, accounting for about 10%. In the quarter ahead, while supply risks will be in view, we expect prices to come under pressure given new capacity additions in China, set against a period of domestic restocking, with downstream demand muted over the Chinese New Year period. However, on the introduction of CBAM in Europe, which may limit imports into the region, in addition to record premiums in the US, focus will remain on regional inventory availability, muddying a clear market trend. Furthermore, LME benchmark prices are likely to be driven by movements in copper, with speculative net longs at their highest level on record. Nickel completed 2025 as the third weakest performing base metal, rising 8.6% year-on-year, reversing declines over the previous 2-year period, with gains concentrated solely in December on Indonesian supply risks. However, despite nickel hovering below $15,600 per tonne over the majority of the second half of last year, putting increasing pressure on both mine and smelter profitability, especially outside Indonesia, this has not been enough to prevent refined output posting a record high in 2025. Now, in turn, this, alongside the LME's fast tracking of Chinese and Indonesian brands, has led to global refined stocks jumping 56% in 2025, pushing global visible inventory to its highest level since 2018. As things stand at the start of this year, nickel's rapid price gain, jumping 8% at the time of writing, remains purely speculative driven, on the anticipation that Indonesia, which is responsible for 70% of nickel output, will limit production quotas by about 33%, or a year-on-year loss of 124,000 tonnes. And this holds the potential to bring nickel's surplus in Q2 into balance. However, this will do little to compensate for the global glut of refined material held in warehouses around the world, while the outlook for demand in nickel's largest end use of stainless steel and fastest growing end use in ternary batteries provides weak support. Zinc closed 2025 as the second weakest performing base metal, up 4.7%, with price softness versus the rest of the suite driven by frail demand dynamics, with the outlook for zinc's largest end use in galvanizing steel, or for example construction, under pressure from an ailing property market in China and downgrades to global growth due to tariff implementation limiting advanced economy demand. In addition, robust mine supply has negatively impacted investor sentiment for zinc, easing a significantly tight supply profile over the 2022 to 2024 period. We forecast that zinc will transition out of a deficit market this year to post building surpluses in the years ahead, with upward momentum in Q1 to face headwinds from global stock rebalancing. However, the unexpected extension to the conclusion of the executive order investigation under Section 232 into critical minerals has reopened the door for further imports of refined material into the US. We forecast that zinc will continue to post building surpluses in the years ahead, with upward momentum in Q1 to face headwinds from global stock rebalancing. Lead ended 2025 up 3% year-on-year, reflecting a moderate backdrop for traditional industrial metal demand, set against a somewhat protected supply outlook, given lead's unique fundamentals, in which 2/3 of supply comes from secondary sources. Looking at Q1, with global stocks remaining at levels over the last 2 years, in addition to a building global surplus, lead is likely to remain within its annual trading range, with upward momentum associated to moves in copper.